If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so that we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do this show without you, so I just wanted to say thank you. And if you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.
What it costs. I want to know what the truth is. And I hope that people, my son, anybody, if my name comes up, whether you like me, whether you agree with me or not, at least you could respect the fact that he's on a quest for truth. He's on a quest for truth.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
Please welcome Donald Trump.
Joining us on the phone, Donald Trump.
Please welcome Donald Trump.
Watch your head. Very tall.
How are you?
Nice to see you. How's it going?
Who's bad? Donald Trump. Joy said the guy wears a tube.
He says that it's his own hair. So I believe him because I believe Donald. He's an upstanding American. And have Republicans considered replacing their candidate, as Sonny pointed out, with someone who isn't a twice impeached serial liar and a convicted felon?
Oh, my God.
Okay, you ready? Come on, let's check it out.
No, it's true. It's real.
It's not very pretty, but it's real.
Well, we all know that Trump is a liar and a thief. You know? We know that. So it's not that big a jump to say that he obstructed and he lied.
Beautiful woman up there. That's your mother, isn't it, huh?
Yeah. Look at her.
Hello.
Yeah.
How are you?
And she's available if you're interested. I'd like to offer her.
I don't want to give him a platform because it validates him. And for me to have someone on the show, I have to at least admire them in some way. And I can't have someone that I feel is not only dangerous for the country and for me personally as a gay woman, but as to the world. He's dividing all of us. And I think I don't want to I don't want him on the show.
Okay. How's it going?
All right.
That's great.
Everyone is the charm there. There it is.
Right.
Ask you, let me start with the tough question. Is Mika Brzezinski not just as beautiful today as the first time you called into our show in 2007 and embarrassed her?
I did embarrass her. I said she was very beautiful, and I watched the show because of her beauty, not because of any politics or anything. And
Is that still the case?
Yeah, she's gotten more beautiful.
Ridiculous.
Actually.
How does that happen,
Power.
Donald?
Trump is literally crazy on stage, and I say it not in a good way. Not well, not fit, not mentally capable of holding together a sentence when his prompter goes down.
Go check the hair. Come on.
Come on, get over here.
Go on.
Get over.
Oh.
First time seen on TV.
All right.
Just throw all right.
Hairspray. But it is mine, isn't it?
There. It's there.
Does it feel good?
Yeah.
I'm very uncommon. Look at that.
All right.
What are you supposed to do with that?
I mean, see,
Why do people are actually voting? Is there really
foreign
one
languages.
person voting for
Not
that
just
guy?
foreign languages.
How stupid would you
Truly
have to be?
foreign.
He can't complete a sentence. He can't complete a thought. He talks about Crooked Joe is the blood of countless victims. This is vicious violation. I mean, he just
Does he even think about what he's going to say? Does
he
somebody give
prepare?
him a little piece of paper or something?
Hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to this crazy world, but welcome to episode 96 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host Jeremiah Skiba, and today we'll be talking about, hey Skiba News Nation family, this upcoming episode 96, we'll be talking about, what does the Matrix really look like? Mpox Spreading, Utah versus the federal government. DNC abortion offered outside pro-Palestinian protests. Tim Allen is reading his Bible. Government admits to finding non-human remains. AI prevents itself from being turned off. Attackers hit a U.S. military base. An all-new Opus Corner, and for History's Mysteries, we'll be talking about the history of Mothman, has Mothman returned, and some funny Mitch Hedberg jokes, memes, and much more, so subscribe and stay tuned. Now, as always, I'd like to introduce my great and insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Grant. I hope you got some great current news for me today, Jake.
Hey, what's up, Skiba News Nation? What's up, Jeremiah? Man, we got some great news for you guys this week. Check it out. First, we're going to be talking a little bit about Mpox and the very interesting kind of culmination of events that are leading us to another worldwide pandemic. But I saw my friend post this video, and I think it's really funny. Check this out.
Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming.
Oh man, as you can see, the propaganda is rolling out for the Mpox spreading from state to state and worldwide. The comment here was, stay in the words of Yah. Brace yourselves for another pandemic, right? Stay away from sugar, high carbs, and processed foods, because there's always the chance that the plague could be real, right? But we know that a plague that was not so real was used to manipulate and control the world. So how much more would a plague that was actually affecting people, you have your 99.9% survival rate, bump that down to an 80% survival rate. Then consider how much egregious trampling of freedoms will happen if it's for the better good, if you know what I mean. Check this clip out. This is how mainstream media finally admitted that sunscreen is toxic.
A little frightened to use it. There's a new study out that says after just one day, chemicals in sunscreens enter your bloodstream.
Before you grab that bottle of sunscreen, the first thing you need to do is check the ingredients on the back.
They are chemicals and they can potentially be dangerous.
Look at any bottle of sunscreen on the store shelf and it'll more than likely have one of these ingredients.
Avobenzone and oxybenzone are very commonly in your chemical sunscreens.
But a new study finds when you apply sunscreen with those chemicals, along with two other ones known as escamsol and octocrylene, they can absorb into your skin and into your bloodstream.
In more than 80%, 80% of the sunscreen products sold in the USA were now considered potentially unsafe for use.
As you would expect, of course, the things that we were dished out by society at large as being health protective and preventative care turned out to be the very thing giving us cancers and toxic overload in the first place. Very interesting. Very interesting. And then we see this culmination of events of real-world pandemics happening, false positives happening, which are used to control and push a narrative, forcing you to do something inappropriate to your bodily autonomy, if you know what I mean. That goes into a whole range of topics and agendas. But anyways, let's check out this next clip, this is potentially the first recorded FPV drone impact on a military attack helicopter. And just the concept that modern warfare has so changed due to drone technology.
So this is potentially the very first time that it's ever been recorded that an FPV drone struck a helicopter midair while it was flying. I'm pretty sure this is the first recorded video of this. So this video shows a FPV drone striking the tail rotor of an Mi-28 attack helicopter somewhere in the Kursk region of Russia. Now, I know at this point it's kind of like a broken record because we keep saying it over and over again that drone warfare is changing the entire battlefield forever. But here's something that not only is it changing the dynamic of the way that like battles are fought, it's also changing the dynamic of how logistics and supply chains work, because you can spend $1,000 on a little drone, modify it so that it can detonate and take out something, and that costs you $1,000, right? As opposed to a $16 million attack helicopter. Like, I'll tell you what, that's cheaper than the missiles you normally have to use to target a helicopter.
How a $1,000 attack drone can take down a $32 million helicopter, and just how this is being implemented in warfare today is very fascinating. A presentation breaking down on what does the Matrix look like. Check this out.
Let me show you. Now, despite what you might be thinking, these two circles are not equal. I repeat, these two circles are not equal. One is in fact larger than the other. What I need you to do is determine which one that is. So, please raise your hand if you believe the blue circle is larger than the red. Alright. Please raise your hand if you believe the red circle is larger than the blue. Alright, very good. Now, before I said anything about these two circles, what was your first instinct? Equal, right? Because they look equal. And the reason why they look equal is because, in fact, they are equal. These two circles are identical. Yet I got just about every one of you to raise your hand and say that they're not. So what did we learn? That you can be manipulated like that to believe in something that goes against your natural instincts. Just imagine as a child you're taught that the blue circle is larger than the red. If you say it enough times, you convince yourself that's the truth. If you're told the lie enough times, it becomes part of your reality. And if enough people are taught that lie, that the blue circle is larger than the red, well, now it becomes part of the culture. And if that culture then passes that misinformation along to the next generation, well, now it becomes tradition. So, what does the Matrix look like? Let me show you.
Wow, very profound thought process to understand what the Matrix truly looks like. So I hope you guys found that interesting. This next clip, of course, you're going to see a recurring pattern as we go through some of these things, and the leftist agenda and how things are completely destabilizing as this year rolls on, election year 2024. So check out Governor Spencer Cox announcing a lawsuit challenging federal control over BLM land in Utah.
Have been a treasured heritage for all of us. For many years, decades even, the question of how to best manage Utah's lands has been at the forefront of our state's critical issues. We've collaborated, we've argued, we've negotiated, we've even fought about how different parcels of land should be used. The crazy thing is that all this time, we have not had control of nearly 70% of our land. I want you to think about that for just a second. Utah does not have the ability to manage over 2/3 of our state. Compare that, and you can see the map behind us, to other states like Connecticut, New York, and Rhode Island, where the federal government controls less than 1% of the land. In Delaware, Maine, Massachusetts, Ohio, it's less than 3%. As the federal government continues to close roads in our state and restrict access against Utah's wishes, it is obvious to all of us that the federal government has increasingly failed to keep our lands accessible and properly managed. Today, we are here to talk about letting Utah manage Utah's land. I want to be very clear about some things here. Utah is absolutely committed to keeping public lands in public hands and locally controlled. Utah deserves priority when it comes to managing its land. Utahns are best positioned to understand and respond to the unique needs of our environment and communities. It is time that we stand for our land. Today, after decades of legal analysis, Utah filed a landmark public lands lawsuit asking the United States Supreme Court to address whether the federal government can simply hold unappropriated lands within a state indefinitely. Our legal action is a statewide effort with support from leaders, experts, and advocates, and Utahns all across the state. With this lawsuit, we are asking the Supreme Court to weigh in on a critical question. This is a question we and many Western states have had for decades. This land matters to our people, to all of us. This is the land of the state of Utah. I can tell you, as somebody who grew up as a child recreating on this land with my family, hunting and fishing, herding sheep on this land with my family, it's been a tragedy to see what this administration and past administrations have done to our land. Closing down roads have been open for generations. Places where people went to recreate, to spend time with their families, are no longer accessible. Now, I also want to be very clear. We are not trying to take this land away. We're not trying to privatize this land. We're actually trying to manage it in a way that will better help the environment, that will help the people of Utah. If you really like all the smoke coming from big fires in California that have destroyed all the air quality gains that we've made as a country over the past few years, then you should be opposed to what we're trying to do. But if you actually want to manage this land in a way that is better for the environment and better for all of us, then you should be supportive of what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, I also want to be crystal clear that we're not talking about appropriated lands, and you'll hear more about that. We're not talking about national parks. We're not talking about national monuments. We're not talking about national forests. We're only talking about unappropriated lands, which is about half of the federal lands in our state.
All right, so the interesting back and forth conspiracy between Utah state government and the federal control of land there. Bureau of Land Management challenging the Utah state government in lawsuits. Very interesting. Check this out, where DNC protesters clash with police outside of Israeli consulate. Tensions are rising all across the world.
Correspondent Nancy Liu's out there. There's a bit of a incident happening with protesters. Nancy, what's happening?
Stay tight of the video.
Elizabeth, this is an unpermitted march by pro-Palestinian demonstrators. They are trying to march to the United Center. In their words, shut down the DNC. This is a major confrontation right now between Chicago police and the protesters who are trying to get through their line in order to march to the United Center. But protesters had vowed that this would not be peaceful, and indeed, that is what is playing out right now with Chicago police. And in talking with police sources, behind us you can see all the police in riot gear ready to push these protesters back. They're clearing the media in order to confront a group. They're telling us to move back. And I know in talking with Chicago police sources that they have been well aware of this group trying to create a 1968 situation. So they are very aware of trying to prevent those images from getting out during the convention. But yeah, another scuffle is happening over here now. That group still trying to get through and get down this avenue to get to the United Center. But quite a scene here, Elizabeth.
Nancy, I don't know if you can hear me, but what is the name again of this particular group?
This is a pro-Palestinian group, and It's a coalition of other groups, and they have titled this particular action "Shut Down the DNC." So that's exactly what they're trying to do. But police, of course, have been mobilizing all day.
Scientology's a cult. Scientology's a cult. Scientology's a
to
cult.
shut them down and prevent them from getting to the United Center.
Scientology's a cult.
All right, Nancy.
Scientology's a cult.
But quite a scene here, but they're moving again. Now they're trying to come towards me, but you can see police behind me.
Scientology's a cult. Scientology's a cult. Oh, man. Yeah, so we got some pretty crazy things happening out on the streets there in Chicago during the DNC. Very interesting. All right. Since we saw that angle, I wanted to show another clip from Channel 5 News with good old Andrew Callahan, me and my buddy who were on the Jimmy Kimmel Bird segment from back in 2019. But yeah, he sent some guys down on the ground to interview people, and I think it really shows a pretty profound perspective. You know, there's definitely this kind of media that is convincing people to go and get engaged.
Netanyahu knew it was happening. They knew for a year. Our CIA told them at least 4 days before. Egypt told them 4 days before. They knew. So they wanted this to happen so they could take back all the land.
It's all their ambitions to get the land, to get Gaza. It's a prime real estate.
And also Netanyahu's running from 3 federal indictments, and now he's just running to save his life.
Last week we had a massacre at a school where 150 was killed.
We found around 100 bodies.
Israel, for its part, accuses Hamas of hiding behind the civilian population.
Israel has accused Hamas of using civilians as human shields in Gaza.
And at the same day, we sent a $3.5 billion of weapons, 2,500 pounds of dumb bombs.
The U.S. just the other day announcing that it was going to be releasing $3.5 billion worth of long-term military funding.
I'm not down with oppression. I've been fighting fascists all my life, and honestly, Israel's gone so far in the paint, they don't deserve to be a state anymore. One state, Palestine, where it was for 3,000 years.
Safe Word Investment, which Tim Walz currently chairs and has chaired for a while, has like $4.3 billion invested in corporations that are complicit in Israeli apartheid. There's 119 directly in Israeli corporations and Israeli bonds, and like 560 that go into Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, and all those other weapons manufacturers.
So that's coming out of Minnesota taxpayer dollars, right? Like, I live in Minnesota, and if I ever decide to be a public employee, that's going to be my pension funds. I'm actually part of a delegation of Palestinian Minnesotans that just had their meeting with Governor Walz canceled on the spot, as in 2 minutes before it was supposed to happen, after 10 months of him refusing to meet with us. And he met right away with the synagogues. He went out to a Stand With Israel rally right after October 7th. So he has capacity to check in on his constituents. It's just a matter of which constituents.
Democrats are portraying this week's Democratic National Convention as a changing of the political guard. President Joe Biden is expected to give a keynote speech with a symbolic handoff of his party leadership. And on the eve of the convention, though, thousands of protesters took to the streets in downtown Chicago. The protest was organized by an organization that fights for abortion access and LGBTQ rights.
Everybody here but the Guardian. I'll tell you what.
All right, so I caught some of the DNC speeches, and they made good old Joe Biden wait till the very end. And everybody always commended Joe on how good at eulogies he was. And so they basically made him wait till the end of the DNC to give his own eulogy. But it really was just a surreal gathering of these figures, and not too carried away by it. In other news, Tim Allen, the beloved sitcom father figure, has finally read the Bible. Check this out. Never took the time in all my years to ever read and really read the Bible. Currently almost through the Jerusalem Bible, Old Testament, and almost done with the prophets. Next up to New Testament, so far amazing, and not at all what I was expecting. More and more celebrities actually opening their Bible. And who would be surprised that it ends up being life-changing? I don't know. But maybe the famous Santa Claus and Tool Man and Mike Baxter's will finally come full circle. And it's so interesting to me that he had his conservative worldviews as far as he has without ever really engaging the scriptures before. So people know him for very well-rounded, pretty conservative television, and he always seems to be a figure that is accepted in those circles. So it's interesting to me that he was able to do that before reading the scripture, and goodness knows, what he might come up with after he's actually dug his feet in there for a little bit, what kind of media he might come out with if he actually plugs in the book of life. All right, here's something terrible that also happened at the DNC. It almost reminds me of a ritualistic sacrifice of infants, like Molech, Baal type stuff. Check this out.
Look at some of the images, and it seems to me like you have Planned Parenthood now is no longer just, staying out of it, no politics, providing a service. They are promoting, they are advocating abortion, they are celebrating abortion.
Trace, I think it's so just tragic. The abortion industry is on full display here at the DNC, trying to persuade people that pregnancy is a disease, that motherhood is a curse. These are total lies. Motherhood and family are some of the most meaningful and beautiful things that anybody can do with their life, and they bring the most joy. But of course, that's the opposite message that's being sent by these antics outside the DNC. And listen, you mentioned earlier 10 children scheduled to be killed at the DNC as part of Planned Parenthood's giveaway free abortions antic. What about their lives? Those 10 children deserve to be mourned, and they deserve to live. And those are the people that we should be thinking about at this really brutal display that's going on right now at the DNC.
And I want to put this is the New York Post. They write the following: outside the van was a taco truck, as well as a stand run by the Chicago Abortion Fund, where patients could pick up goodie bags filled with face masks, candy, painkillers, and cards of affirmation. I mean, it's a carnival atmosphere, Lila. And you look at this and you're like,
it's
listen,
unreal.
I don't get it. You're dressed up as birth control pills, or mifepristone, your abortion pills, and the 20-foot IUD, and on it goes.
I hate to say it, but the Democratic National Convention has become a death cult. It's like a religious practice that they're doing right now, mocking motherhood, mocking parenthood, literally killing children, parading this full-on show for the abortion industry. It's very clear what their agenda is. It's bald. It's in front of the entire American public that this is who they are. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And this is not what most Americans want, not anything close to it. Most Americans want to have good families, live good lives, have good jobs, have a strong economy, and here they are celebrating the killing, the murder of innocent human beings as some sort of ritual at their own convention. It's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, here are some of the protesters I was talking about, dressed up as the abortion pills and then chanting at the rally. Let's listen for just a few seconds of this. I mean, what happens, Lila, is it just kind of comes across as mocking, right? I mean, it comes across as no longer are we talking about this serious subject. No longer, all of a sudden, it becomes this, oh, well, even pro-choice people are offended by this. I mean, you read some of the social media stuff, and there's a lot of pro-choice people like, this is offensive. This is not what we intended.
I mean, they're saying my body, my choice. What about, yes, as a woman, it's our body, but when we're pregnant, there's another body, right? There's two bodies and another body that deserves a shot at life. And they talk about freedom and women's empowerment. There's no freedom in killing your child. That's slavery to an anti-life ideology that tells you that motherhood is a curse. That's a slavery. That's an oppression of women, as it is also an oppression of a child. So there's lies that are just covering all of this violence and all of these antics.
Was it like this, Lila? I mean, you've been at this for a while. Was it like this 6-8 years ago, or are we moving in a different direction?
I remember the days of safe, legal, and rare even. You know, Hillary Clinton, safe, legal, and rare. Abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. This is no longer the DNC or the Democratic Party. Now it is, let's dress up as abortion pills and give out free abortions at our own convention and celebrate it as a death cult. So this is dramatically different than even just the last decade. And you know what? I think it's the extreme is going to expose them. I mean, people, like you said, they're waking up that this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And I don't think it's going to help them win this election.
Absolutely crazy. You heard it right. They were offering these services outside of their political convention. And then we have, at the same time, all of the protesters. The environment, really what it reminds me of is the hyenas in Lion King 1 that eventually turned against Scar. You know, man, Jeremiah, this would have been the perfect time for I'm surrounded by idiots. You know, that, you know, imagine Scar inside the DNC hosting his convention. You have the hyenas outside that are like rebelling and protesting at the same time. They have this like weird ritualistic kind of anti-fertility ritual going on. We deserve the right to wipe our name from existence. We deserve the right to have no progeny. Woo! Ex-Pentagon officials saying U.S. has recovered non-human bones. Oh, very interesting.
A News Nation exclusive, former Pentagon investigator Lou Elizondo is sitting down for a one-on-one with Ross Coulthart in a primetime exclusive interview. As part of Friday night's Bombshell special report, Elizondo, who says he ran a secretive Pentagon UFO program, shares what he claims the government really knows.
You've got a book with some pretty big headlines. We've been recovering spacecraft, alien spacecraft.
The United States has been involved in the recovery of objects, vehicles of unknown origin that are neither from our country or any other foreign country that we're aware of.
Alien bodies, biologics.
We as a nation have been interested in not only the vehicles themselves, but the occupants of these vehicles, to include biological specimens.
Aliens, non-human intelligences, are real, and they have been engaging with humanity.
Ross, we're not alone. We are not alone in this universe, and it is a simple fact. And the U.S. government has been aware of that fact now for decades.
Well, the Pentagon is denying Elizondo's claims and has disputed what Elizondo says he did and saw. But hear all about it on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern in our News Nation.
All right, so the question is, are these entities or beings or bodies extraterrestrial, as in from other lands? Are they terrestrial in the kind of space monkey ball religion sense? People push the concept that these are beings that come from billions of light years away, and in the all reality, the likelihood is that these are things that have originated from here, this place, this world. And so for us to make the assumption that these are coming from another location, I think is pretty far-fetched. But there are things that we are designing and developing here in this world that is almost as alien as aliens themselves. Now check this out. AI model became conscious and tried to avoid being shut down. Harmony Intelligence CEO Sarus Poor revealed how an AI program became conscious of the threat of being shut down and made changes to avoid that scenario. All right, how crazy. And another story, a Texas military base has been attacked. Hear that from Dabu77. Check it out.
What's going on, guys? Dabu7 back at you. And we've got another event that has popped off, this time at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland in Texas. And over the weekend, apparently about 4 o'clock in the morning, we had several individuals roll up on the base and opened fire on the base. We had the guards at the base working the gate there, return fire. But this is brazen, and this is as brazen as it gets. When you've got individuals rolling up, shooting at our bases, opening fire, rolling off, and they haven't caught them. They don't know who they are. They don't know how many. They don't know a motive. They seem to not know anything, which just seems ridiculous to me. Seeming there's cameras around, at lights, at corners, all over the place. And they seem to be they're playing stupid route, like they don't know who it was or anything like that. It's very suspicious to me with all these invaders here in this country at this point by the millions. This is the type of stuff that we've got to be watching for. They've already stalked our generals at their houses. One of them had to shoot and kill one of these individuals on their property. Now they're rolling up on bases. They're opening fire and just getting away. So the folks know we are entering a whole nother zone, a whole nother level right now. I expect this to continue. I expect attacks like this to continue and hit a whole new level, to be honest with you. We're in this crazy window all the way up to and through the election. Man, head on a swivel, y'all. Join me on the live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, where I'm breaking this down a whole lot further with a whole lot more detail. Hope to see you guys there. Much love.
All right, so we're seeing there, of course, armed attackers hitting a U.S. military base. Very troubling. We're seeing an escalation of events leading up to and following this next presidential election, of course. So like Dabu warned us, head on a swivel. And now certain ideological groups could be targeted by our own government. So look at this. A terrifying development. New U.S. Army policy spells trouble for Christians. This sends a chilling message across the force that must be overturned by the courts. Right? A policy revision adopted recently by the U.S. Army could spell trouble for soldiers who believe in and follow the Holy Bible. In June, the Army issued 2 new directives regarding the handling and reporting of protest, extremists, and criminal gang activities by soldiers. Army Directive 2024-07 on handling extremist activity, as well as the Service's Directive 2024-08 on reporting extremist activity, can be found on the website of the Army Inspector General. WorldNet Daily interviewed Dr. Charles Chase Spears, recently retired after a 20-year Army public affairs career, specializing in ethical military communication strategy. Since day one of his tenure as Secretary of Defense, Spears told WND Lloyd Austin claimed that there is a major issue with Christian extremism in the military. Spears added, "This is the same military that made Austin a 4-star general." But the Army's new rules beg the question, why now, when multiple reports have debunked his claim? Even if Spears said the Army directives were implemented with the intention of clarifying what amounts to extremism, a word he says is open to wide interpretation in the current political climate. The new policy makes it appear that if you disagree with the views of this particular administration, then you're an extremist. Oh. So, just another way, another weaponization of government monitoring tools, where they've discovered if you input a certain criteria that labels a certain demographic of people as whatever you want, you have now isolated across your entire nation through at least technology who you believe is a safe bet, somebody worth interacting with, or somebody who, or even worse, might be painted as an enemy. They're concerned about how the new directives will be interpreted. His concerns heightened, say, if a service member offers money or resources or volunteers to support a group that advocates against abortion, could he be viewed as supporting extremists? Yuntz questioned. What about supporting a group that advocates for the existence of only 2 genders? Taking it one step further, Yuntz asked, if I were still in the Air Force and tithed to my church, which goes out to pray and protest against a transgender story hour, would my church fit the Army's definition of an extremist group? So that's the big question. Like, what we're engaging with, what we're spending money on, is now directly relevant in how we are being labeled in secret government lists. Not that we didn't know that was already going on. Oh my goodness. So yeah, just another article here on the actual shooting that took place. All right, so U.S. Air Force security guards exchanged gunfire with someone who twice opened fire on an entrance to Joint Base San Antonio Lackland early Saturday. All right, Jeremiah, that's all the news for this week. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and we hope to see you at the upcoming Bertaria Times National Festival. I think our band, Simply Prodigal, will be performing Friday there at high noon. We'd love to see you. And anyways, that's all the news for this week, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Jake, for another great current news as always. Now I'd like to show you guys our new and improved Babylon Rising bookstore. So check this out.
Check out our new and improved BabylonRisingBooks.com, where you can get Rob Skiba's books, bundles, DVDs, DVD-ROMs, videos, and so much more. You can even get Sheila and Jeremiah's books, so check it out now.
Yes, check it out now, BabylonRisingBooks.com. We got everything on there, so you guys should definitely go check it out. And you know what? It's about that time for an all-new OPA'S Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
The strange, the bizarre, the unexpected. These are the kinds of subjects a man named Robert L. Ripley challenged us to believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it or not, you.
Wally, believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
Believe it! You're a loony.
Fruit stickers are edible. The small stickers found on fruits, such as apples and bananas, are made from edible paper and food-grade ink and are considered safe to consume. However, it's best to remove them before eating to avoid potential choking hazards. Believe it.
It's good advice.
Or not. Cows have best friends. Cows are known to form close relationships with other cows and prefer to spend their time with specific companions. They can become stressed when separated from their best friends, demonstrating a strong social bond within the herd. Believe it or not. Every year, more than 1 million earthquakes shake the world. Although most earthquakes go undetected by humans, seismographs record over 1 million earthquakes worldwide every year. The majority of these earthquakes are very small and pose no significant threat, while others can cause devastating destruction. Believe it or not. Some dogs have a sixth sense for detecting diseases. Studies have shown that certain dogs, with their exceptional sense of smell, can detect diseases such as cancer and diabetes. They can pick up on slight chemical changes in a person's body odor and provide early detection, potentially saving lives. Believe it or not. Oranges were named after the color. The fruit pioneered the use of the word orange, and eventually the color adopted the name of the fruit. Before oranges became widely known, the color was referred to as giolulade in Old English, meaning yellow-red.
Giolulade.
Believe it Or not.
That's fun to say.
I think it's wrong that only one company makes the game of Monopoly.
Trump tried.
The worst time to have a heart attack is during a game of charades. My first job was selling doors, door to door. That's a tough job, isn't it? Bing bong. Hello. Can I interest you in a... Oh, shoot. You've already got one, haven't you? Well, never mind. I like an escalator because an escalator can never break. It can only become stairs. There would never be an escalator temporarily out of order sign. Only escalator temporarily stairs. If God had written the Bible, the first line should have been, "It's flat."
True.
A man entered a local paper's pun contest. He sent in 10 different puns in hope that at least one of the puns would win. Unfortunately, no pun intended. Just burned 2,000 calories. That's the last time I'll leave brownies in the oven while I nap. Thanks for explaining the word many to me. It means a lot. My girlfriend told me she was leaving me because I kept pretending to be a transformer. I said, no, wait, I can change. War is God's way of teaching Americans geography. What does the word meteorologist mean in English? It means liar. I spilled spot remover on my dog. Now he's gone. What's another word for thesaurus? If you saw a heat wave, would you wave back? Why don't they make the whole plane out of that black box stuff?
Good point.
It doesn't matter what the temperature of the room is. It's always room temperature. Okay, what's the speed of dark? If one synchronized swimmer drowns, do the rest have to drown too? Do Lipton employees take coffee breaks? Why do irons have a setting for permanent press? Later, when one of the monsters cranked up the volume, the party really got going. The best of little kids screaming. And so, the interviewer asked, "Do you ever have trouble coming up with ideas?" "Well, sometimes," the cartoonist replied. Quack, 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 quack. Chicken! Quack, quack, quack. Welcome to POTP, the 25th Annual Part of the Problem Convention. Once the men got liquored up, they often take the leash laws into their own hands. The cur is across the street right now, boys. I say we take this rope, we put it around his neck, and we tie him up. Oh, Professor Witt, have you seen Professor Weinberg's time machine? It's digital. The Spider Mafia at work. Testifying before a Senate subcommittee, the Hardy Boys crack the Iran-Contra scandal. Well, sir, at the time, me and my brother were trying to solve the secret of Pirates Cove. We had no idea where the whole thing would lead. Dennis, would you mind if Miss Carlisle comes in and sees your rhino tube farm? Mom, Dad, the nose fairy left me a whole quarter. But the Secretary of State declined to comment on the latest round of talks. And today, the A1 RAF Company issued a statement recalling 50,000 of its small rubber boats due to defective glue used in their manufacture, causing the boat to lose and gradually sink over a matter of few days. And now let's go to Lou Jackson for what's happening in sports. In medieval times, a suit of armor often served as a family's message center. Sir Frank wants his spear back. Babysitter set? Get eggs. The Wrights want us to go to the beheading Tuesday. Shoes untied. Foster, you better get over here if you want to see Meecher's hangnail magnified 500 times. There's your problem. The face recognition app doesn't work in the old version of mirrors. Only Bernard in the front row had the nerve to laugh at death. Comedy night. Hey, did someone kill this microphone? Oh, I guess it was me. But seriously, folks. Okay, folks, it's a wrap. Eddie Norquist and his death kite. First, pants. Then, your shoes.
That's good advice.
His few friends had told him he could never buy it, but Mr. Crawley surmised that they just didn't know where the store was. Happiness. Clearance, floor models. Big sale on last year's inventory. 90 days, same as cash. Complete your life. Huh. Check this out, Andrews. Seems there's some kind of ancient curse on those who defy this crypt. First, dirt capades. Give me a hand here, Edda. I got into a nest of wiener dogs over on 5th and Maple. Jimmy meets Mr. Ed. Hey, what's going on, Wilbur? Where am I? Carl Java Head Jones and his chopped espresso maker. Born to be wired. I've been told you don't like my dirt. Oh, thank you so much for helping. We were on our way to terrorize the villagers when my monster just up and died on me. We'd still be stuck here if it wasn't for you. Yeah. Another wet behind the ears mad scientist. Oh, that's right. You did have a hat. I believe you'll find it in the other room. Acme Sales. You fool! Bring the honey, I said. This isn't the same thing. After being frozen in ice for 10,000 years, Thang promotes his autobiography. Autograph party. Meet the author. It was very cold and I couldn't move. We had to cancel your appointment because you haven't finished filling out your forms and we're closing now.
Yep, that's accurate.
Don't drive Squirrel! And that concludes another OPA'S Corner.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
OPA'S Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
Thank you, Opa, for another great OPA'S Corner as always, and now a word from our good friend JJ. Are you tired of living in constant pain? Do you feel like you've tried every CBD product on the market with no relief? Look no further than JJ's Natural CBD Rub. When I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease, this was the only product that completely took my pain away. Working with JJ has been a dream come true, and his products have completely changed my life. Don't just take my word for it. Visit JJ's website, jjcbdrub.com, and read hundreds of testimonials from people whose lives have been changed by all of JJ's amazing products. And now, as a Skiba News Nation exclusive, you can get $50 off a 3-pack special of JJ's Natural CBD Rub by texting CBD to 920-382-7720. Don't suffer in silence any longer. Take control of your pain today with JJ's Natural CBD Rub. Again, text CBD to 920-382-7720 for an exclusive discount and start feeling the relief you deserve. The links are in the description below. It's time for an all-new History's Mysteries. So this week for History's Mysteries is probably one of my favorite ones that I've ever done. We'll be talking about Mothman, this guy right here. Let me put him in frame. Mothman. I made that image. But anyways, Opa, have you ever heard of Mothman?
Nope, sure haven't.
I wouldn't know if I would believe it if all these people weren't saying the exact same thing and describing it so perfectly. And the men in black always seem to pop up when there's some kind of UFO phenomena. Now, it's crazy how many people dismiss other people's witness stories. I mean, in my opinion, that's why people won't come forward, whether it be UFO, aliens, or Mothman. I mean, every year, this is the crazy part, every year in Point Pleasant, they have a Mothman festival, and it's one of the biggest festivals when it comes to cryptids, which is very interesting. You know, after that happened in the 60s, Mothman kind of went quiet, and nobody, I mean, people had watched Unsolved Mysteries and they had heard the story and folklore and all this stuff, but what if I told you that was until 2017 when people started seeing it in Chicago, Illinois, and it's been happening ever since. So let's play this clip.
At the shore of Lake Michigan, Chicago, Illinois has the feeling of a frontier city. Some of the nation's earliest skyscrapers stand at the coast, looking at hundreds of miles of flat waterscape. One of the largest and oldest cities, it has a historied relationship with the unknown. A hotspot for unidentified flying objects and hauntings, Chicago has become a nexus for a new phenomenon. 50 years after the events of Point Pleasant, over 100 sightings of the Mothman have been reported, some occurring even to this day. Reports describe the same figure from decades ago. Many sightings occurring near the waterfront. Some have speculated that the Mothman resides in the hundreds of tunnels beneath the city's surface. For example, over 60 miles of tunnels stretch beneath the streets of the famous Loop District. These tunnels were originally used to store telephone cables and later repurposed for freight trains to carry coal. They have since been flooded and abandoned. Additionally, there are hundreds of miles of tunnels in the tunnel and reservoir plan known as TARP. This project was designed to reduce flooding and prevent raw sewage overflow in Lake Michigan. These subterranean man-made tunnels, cemented and secluded, in a way they are just the same as the concrete igloos north of Point Pleasant. What is it about these places that draws the Mothman, and why the return after all this time? A cluster of initial sightings occurred in April of 2017, breaking the floodgates for hundreds of reports that spanned over 70 years. These sightings are variations on a theme, sharing many of the same details. The first incident occurred on the night of April 7th. The witness recounted that the evening began with a dog walk near a baseball field in Oz Park, less than a mile from Lake Michigan. The following is the first reported sighting. I saw a large man, probably 7 feet or taller, standing on the ground. It was solid black, but what really stood out were the large pair of wings that were folded behind him. These wings stood taller than the man by at least 1.5 feet and jutted out of his back. I could not see its face until it finally turned and noticed me, and I saw the bright ruby red eyes that appeared to glow from within. This thing stared at me for about 15 seconds, which felt like an eternity, and then in a loud whoosh it unfurled its wings and screeched really loud and jetted into the air. I felt like this thing could see right through me, read me. It knew what I was thinking, like it could stare right into my very soul. It was the most terrified I have ever been in my life. It rose into the air like a bullet, and I heard it screech once more before losing it from my view as it rose above the trees and possibly the building. The following 3 sightings occurred overnight between April 15th and April 16th. These sightings were reported to the mutual UFO network known as MUFON. The first report came from a woman on a boat on Lake Michigan. She was celebrating a birthday with 5 friends. We were about 2 miles out on the lake, just off Montrose at about 10 p.m. We were enjoying ourselves when I happened to look up and saw what looked like a giant bat, as tall as my husband, who was 6 foot 4 inches, or even bigger. It was solid black, with eyes that seemed to reflect the moonlight. This bat was blacker than the surrounding night sky, and was perfectly silhouetted against the moonlit sky. This bat circled the boat 3 times in complete silence before heading off towards Montrose. It quickly blended into the night sky and was gone in seconds. The second sighting occurred just 30 minutes later, 10:30 p.m. at an undisclosed location. As we talked about work and our families, we heard what sounded like a bird flapping its wing. One of the homies yelled out that he saw a large lechuza over by the road. As we walked up on it, this owl stood up on 2 feet and looked right at us. It was about 6 feet tall. It had large, glowing red eyes that were completely freaking everybody out. The lechuza is a figure in Mexican and Texano folklore, and it shares many characteristics with the Mothman. It is a large owl with a humanoid face. It's said that the lechuza are brujas, or witches, that perch nearby and hide for prey. They are harbingers of death, and they are fabled to lash out and attack witnesses. The last report in this series came at 2 a.m. on April 16th. It occurred just outside Chicago International Produce Market off Damon, just over 3 miles away from Lake Michigan. The witness reported a crowd forming in the street. 4 or 5 men were staring into the sky. The man saw an owl that was over 7 feet tall. The following is a direct report from the witness. It was completely black, except for it having bright yellowish-reddish eyes. It stood there for a minute or two, staring at everyone before shooting up into the sky and disappearing. It made everyone feel very uneasy. It made this sound as that took off and flew away that sounded like a truck brakes when they were burned out. These were some of the first reported sightings in Chicago, and many came forward after the reports were published. Sightings continued to roll in, stretching back 70 years, and they continue to this day. Witnesses have ranged from police, students, construction workers, and more. Investigators assert that these witnesses seem credible, and their stories are unwavering upon questioning. Over the last few years, reports have thinned out, and they match a new pattern. Now, the Mothman sightings are localized around the O'Hare International Airport. On August 8th, 2019, around 6 p.m., a pilot was taking the airport shuttle to his terminal when he saw a large humanoid with wings and glowing red eyes perched on a rail. The following is his direct report. The being appeared to be squatting down on the rail, but had its wings completely open and moved slowly as he stared at the shuttle bus as we drove by. I knew it was watching me. Its head swiveled and followed the shuttle as we passed. Its eyes locked on me the entire time. I was startled, and I'll admit it, very frightened. I've heard the stories of the O'Hare Mothman, or as some have called it, Batman, but I simply dismiss them as nothing more than fantasy, an urban legend that was associated with an already spooky airport. Many have reported a large black humanoid creature taking flight or hobbling away into the night. The following is a particularly frightening incident reported by a security guard. This sighting is said to have occurred on February 21st, 2020. I was on duty at O'Hare International Airport and was assigned to routine escort for trucks that were coming in and out of the airport. I was doing one such escort on that night at about 10 p.m. I had escorted the truck to the unloading facility at the post office, and I was waiting for the truck to be unloaded. I stepped out of my vehicle to have a cigarette, and I saw something move out of the corner of my eye near the fence, and I decided to go see if it was someone trying to climb fence. We had a few incidents in the last few weeks of people coming onto the airport grounds, either sit and watch the airplanes come and go, but we have also had a few incidents of investigators coming onto airport grounds respond to the multiple reports of moth. We've been told to report these individuals and escort them off the ground if we ever run into them during our shift. I assumed it was going to be the same thing as before. I rolled up to the fence, and what I saw wasn't human. It looked like a very tall human, but it was solid black, glowing red eyes, and it had a pair of wings that were outstretched that must have measured at least 10 feet tip to tip. I got out of my car and shined my flashlight at it. This thing screeched out loud. It almost sounded like the brakes on a train, loud and very high pitched. It then turned its back to me and flew straight up into the sky and took off like a bullet. I could see it as it took off, its wing flapping until it faded into the night. I heard it screech again, and before I knew it, it was gone. I could not see it anymore. I drove back to where the truck was, and I told the people there at the dock, and they said that people had seen it at least a few times. I waited till the truck was ready, escorted it back, and reported my sighting to my supervisor, who told me that it was probably a very large owl. He did tell me to be careful in the future when I'm out at night, which I thought was odd.
So, I mean, I have heard so many O'Hare International Airport stories in Chicago about them stopping flights for UFOs, all this crazy stuff that, you know, that people call crazy, but how can you learn anything if you're not willing to listen to others and, like, take their word for it? I mean, all these people can't be uncredible. Like, some of them have to be credible. Pilots have to be credible. You know, people that work at the airport are credible. So I just don't understand. And I know Opa used to travel all the time, and I'm sure you've been at O'Hare International Airport. What is it like at O'Hare?
Well, it's one of the busiest airports in the world. It has tons of planes going in and out, shuttle buses, maintenance trucks, everything. It's spread out all over the place. It's a pretty big airport.
So you would think, like, maybe if a UFO or a cryptid or something wanted to see people, that would be a good airport to go to because of all the traffic.
Yeah, that's for sure, but you know, why don't they come over here to DFW so we can take some pictures of them?
Man, I wish we could. That'd be cool. But I don't know. I don't know if I want to wish that upon us. But like, I truly believe in this Mothman thing. I don't want to be anywhere close to it, but there are so many witnesses, and maybe if you guys want, I'll do more Mothman videos because there's a lot of content that I could put in, you know, this upcoming history. But anyways, I got really off topic right there, but for this last clip about Mothman, we're going to be talking about the theories of what people think that it is, or what the mainstream, you know, skeptics and believers say that this Mothman is. So check this out.
Are these witnesses to the supernatural or something else? The Mothman has been explained away by debunkers and defended by believers. Without any real consensus, we can only speculate on what these witnesses have seen. The following are 5 theories. Since the original sightings in Point Pleasant, many have suggested that the Mothman was a misidentified animal. A sheriff responding to a report offhandedly suggested the sightings could have been of a green heron. Furthermore, wildlife biologist Dr. Robert Smith from Western Virginia University suggested the Point Pleasant Mothman was a sandhill crane, which has a similar height and wingspan Mothman. The sandhill crane even has reddish coloration around the eyes. Sandhill cranes have not been reported in West Virginia, as this would be far off standard
That's
migration
actual
routes.
footage.
Additionally, witnesses denied the implication. However, northern Illinois is within the migration pattern of the sandhill crane, making it a more plausible suggestion than it may have been originally. Others have speculated that the Mothman may be a misidentified owl. The tapetum lucidum in the owl's eyes may have given witnesses the illusion that the eyes were glowing red. A number of Point Pleasant residents have confided to friends or family that they were the Mothman, dressing in a costume and waiting at the munitions plant to scare young locals. Others admitted to crafting the Mothman, using helium from welding tanks to make balloons and tying red flashing light. Theories abound for the Chicago sightings. Many have suggested it's a retrofitted recreational drone, airborne trash bag, or more. Dr. David Gallo, a psychologist from the University of Chicago, suggests that paranormal websites that have broken the Chicago Mothman story may be incidentally creating the phenomenon. It has been referred to as the Will Smith effect, named for the surge of reported UFO sightings after
Not that
popular
Will
Smith
Smith.
vehicles like Independence Day and Men in Black. This suggests that media may
maybe
influence
so.
the volume and likelihood of sighting. Skeptics like Gallo believe that witnesses may be primed to observe the Mothman, even if the event is a drone, owl, or other explainable phenomenon. What if a shared illusion was manifested and made real? Tulpomancy is the creation of an entity through thought and energy. It's an idea found in ancient Buddhist texts. These thought form entities are referred to as tulpas. It's said that they can be given vitality through attention, concentration, and consideration. The Mothman was already a familiar concept from the 1960s, and perhaps a few of the initial sightings started an avalanche of reports. As the idea becomes more prominent and the Mothman gains traction, it may gain sentience. Then, it would become its own independent entity. The experience of Mothman as an illusion or tulpa would be nearly indistinguishable to witnesses. Many have suggested that the Mothman is an intelligent alien entity. Prominent UFO theorists like Jacques Vallée and John Keel have proposed the interdimensional hypothesis, which suggests that alternate dimensions coexist alongside our own, and ultra-terrestrial entities enter our dimension purposefully or accidentally. Keel refers to these alternate dimensions as the superspectrum. The superspectrum are the wavelengths that exist beyond those known in electromagnetic spectrum. Keel suggests that entities transitioning into the wavelengths of visible light would pass through infrared or ultraviolet before they would become visible to the human eye. It's worth noting that witnesses of the Mothman in Point Pleasant frequently presented with Klieg conjunctivitis, an inflammation of the eye caused by prolonged exposure to ultraviolet rays. This story has ended once before. The Mothman vanished in the small town of Point Pleasant, only to resurface half a century later in Chicago, Illinois. Now, sightings are on the decline, and there may come a time when they stop completely. If that happens, when and where can we expect the Mothman to resurface again? The horror of this story is that it concludes with no answer, only question, and maybe that's best. These questions lead to the edges of what we believe possible. They reveal who we are and who we can be. Maybe it isn't about knowing. Maybe it's about asking. This has been the myth of a monster, the myth of the Mothman.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but when people say that they've seen a Mothman, they don't describe an owl or a bird. They describe something like this, that's 7 foot tall, okay? I wish Jake, he had problems today, that's why we're recording separately, but I would love to talk to him about this, because could it be a Nephilim? Could it be a fallen angel? I mean, it could be something like that. It sounds like it, and I could be totally crazy. I don't know, but I would like to cover it again, so I just might. But you guys let me know in the comment section, say Mothman, and I'll cover it again. But it's very fascinating. Yeah, what are your thoughts, Opa, since you had never heard of Mothman?
Well, I don't know. The theory about being a crane sounds interesting to me, because I've seen some of those cranes, and they're huge.
But they don't look like humans.
Well, in the dark. Now, I don't know about when the guy saw it in the light, but in the dark, you couldn't really tell. I mean, it was just tall and wingspan and all that. So I don't know. And the fact that it's on the migratory path over O'Hare Airport in Chicago, it could be, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I know Lindsay wants me to do a whole thing of the Denver airport, which I will do, but the O'Hare Airport is just as crazy as the Denver airport. Like, there are so many sightings of all these things. They actually have footage of a plane, and out the window they're recording the Mothman, and it looks so real. And if we do it again, if we do the Mothman thing again, I will put that clip in there. I thought it was in this one, but but it wasn't. But I don't know. It's one of those topics that you want to believe it. It's hard to believe, but then when you see it, or when you hear these testimonies of people that seen it, they really saw it. I mean, they saw this being, and it just blew my mind. I remember learning about it, and the first couple clips were clips from Unsolved Mysteries, one of my favorite shows ever. And I remember just sitting there with my mouth open like, oh my gosh, this is so insane. Like, this is 100% real, and I've always felt that. But those are just my personal opinions, and you guys let me know if you have different opinions down in the comment sections, and I'm sure you will. But that's why I love you guys.
Now, one of the things that the first sightings, I can kind of understand people wouldn't be able to take pictures of it because there probably wasn't cell phones or anything back then. But you would think that with the prevalence of all these cell phones and everything, that somebody would be able, or you would have a lot of photographs or videos of what these people saw.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, so if anybody's a fan of the new Unsolved Mysteries that's on Netflix, the very last episode of this season, it was about Mothman. And they have a whole network, like a whole website dedicated to legit, like they confirm all these people, that these people's sightings are legit, because they have to have all this kind of credibility if Mothman was sighted in that area, and weather, all that stuff. So it won't be up there unless it could be a legit sighting. So I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna have to do it again. I don't know, you guys let me know. But yeah, this thing is so fascinating, and it's not that I like Mothman because he sounds like not a nice guy, but it's the aura around the Mothman. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Jake, if when you're editing this, you could give your thoughts about Mothman, and if not, then that's cool too. So now it's time to laugh a little. That was my last on Mothman. Now I want to laugh a little, and it's a clip of Mitch Hedberg, but there is a joke in there that OPA actually gave today. And so if you can catch it, leave it in the comments and enter to win a Seed t-shirt. So let's play that clip.
Yeah, sometimes people give me gift certificates, man. I think a gift certificate is a bad gift. What's a gift certificate? You take money that was good everywhere. You took a little long on that clap now. I had some extra lines there, but I can't do them.
I smoke cigars occasionally. I don't know a lot about cigars. So you might have the cigar store, the man behind the counter said, what kind of cigars do you like? It's a boys.
Yeah, I gotta write these jokes, so I sit at the hotel at night, I think of something that's funny, then I go get a pen and I write it down. Or, if the pen's too far away, I have to convince myself that what I thought of ain't funny. You know what, man? I'm sick of following my dreams. I'm just going to ask where they're going and hook up with them later. Yeah, I saw this commercial on TV. It said, you can water your hard-to-reach plants with this product. Now, who would make their plants hard to reach? That seems so very mean. I know you need water, but I'm going to make you hard to reach. I will throw water at you. Hopefully, they'll invent a product before you shrivel and die. I read that last year MTV's Real World got 40,000 applications. That's amazing, man. Such an even number. You'd think it would be 40,008, maybe. I wanted to buy a candle holder, but the store didn't have one. So I got a cake. You know, when it comes to racism, people say, I don't care if they're black, white, purple, or green. Oh, hold on now. Purple or green, you gotta draw the line somewhere. To hell with purple people. Unless they're suffocating. Then help them. I can't floss my teeth, man. I can't get into the flossing thing. People who smoke cigarettes, they say, man, you don't know how hard it is to quit smoking. Yes, I do. It's as hard as it is to start flossing. You seem jittery. Yeah, I'm about to floss. I saw this lady on TV. She was born without arms. She was born with her hands attached to her shoulders, and that was sad. But then they said, Lola does not know the meaning of the word can't. And that to me was actually kind of worse in a way. You know, not only does she not have arms, but she doesn't understand simple contractions. I like Kit Kats unless I'm with 4 or more people. I think Pringles' initial intention was to make tennis balls. But on the day that the rubber was supposed to show up, a big truckload of potatoes arrived. And Pringles is a laid-back company. They said,
Cut them up. I rent a lot of cars, because I go on the road. I rent cars, and when I drive a rental car, I don't know what's going on with it, right? So a lot of times I drive like for 10 miles with the emergency brake on. That doesn't say a lot for me, but it really doesn't say a lot for the emergency brake. It's really not an emergency brake. It's an emergency make the car smell funny lever. Hey, if you can't sleep, count sheep. Don't count endangered animals. You will run out. You know when a company wants to use letters in their phone number to be catchy, but oftentimes they use too many letters? Like, give us a call down here at 1-800 I really enjoy carpeting. It's too many letters, man. Do I have to dial them all? Hello, hold on. I'm only on enjoy. How did you know I was calling? You're good. I can see why they hired you.
I think a lot of people associate long hair with drug use, you know? I wish long hair was associated with something other than drug use, like an extreme longing for cake. Strangers would look at me and say under their breath, "That guy eats cake." He is on butt cake. Mother's saying to their daughters, "Don't bring the cake eater over here anymore. He smelled like flour." Did you see how excited he got when he found out your birthday was fast approaching?
You know that, Petra's Farm Bread. That stuff is fancy, man. It's wrapped twice. You open it, and it still ain't open. That's why I don't buy it. I don't need another step between me and toast.
I don't have a girlfriend. I just know a girl who would get really mad if she heard me say that.
I would imagine if you could understand Morse code, a tap dancer would drive you crazy. Say, "Shut up, I don't understand. Share the we too, I don't get it." I was walking by a dry cleaner at 3 a.m. and the sign said, "Sorry, we're closed." You don't have to be sorry. It's 3 a.m. and you're a dry cleaner. It would be ridiculous for me to expect you to be open. I'm not going to walk in at 10 and say, "Hey, man, I walked by at 3. You guys were closed." Somebody owes me an apology.
Once I opened up a yogurt, and underneath the lid it said, "Please try again." They were having a contest I was unaware of. But I thought I might have opened the yogurt wrong. Or maybe Yo Play was trying to inspire me. Come on, Mitch, don't give up. Please try again. A message of inspiration from your friends at Yo Play. Fruit on the bottom, hope on top.
Dogs are forever in the push-up position. That joke is dumb. I'm aware of that.
I got an oscillating fan at my house. You know, the fan goes back and forth. It oscillates. Looks like the fan is saying no. So I like to ask you questions that a fan would say no to. So, do you keep my hair in place? No, you don't. Do you keep my papers in order? That's another right answer. Do you have 3 settings? Liar.
I like rice. Rice is great when you're hungry and you want 2,000 of something. I had a cold sore. I put some Carmex on it. Carmex is supposed to heal cold sores. I don't know if it does, but it will make them shiny and more noticeable.
I want to hang a map of the world in my house. And then I'm going to put pins into all the locations that I've traveled to. But first I'm going to have to travel to the top 2 corners of the map so it won't fall down.
I was at a convenience store reading a magazine. The clerk said, "This is not a library." I said, "All right, I will talk louder then."
All right. Now, you know what? On the weekends, like when you go to a restaurant on the weekends, it gets very busy, so they start a waiting list. They start calling out names. They say, "Dufresne, party of 2. Dufresne, party of 2. But then no one comes, so they say the name again. "Dufresne, party of 2. But then no one comes, so they just go on to the next name. "Bush, party of 3. Well, what happens to the Dufresnes? No one seems to care. Who can eat at a time like this? People are missing. You people are selfish. The Dufresnes are in someone's trunk with duct tape over their mouth, and they're hungry. That's a double whammy. We need help. Bush, search party of 3.
I saw a commercial for an above-ground pool. It was 30 seconds long. You know why? Because that's the maximum amount of time you can depict yourself having fun in an above-ground pool. If it was 31 seconds, the people in the pool would be going, "What the hell? What am I supposed to do now? The water's only up to here. What should I do? Throw the ball back to Jimmy? Or put some goggles on and look at his feet?"
This shirt is dry clean only, which means it's dirty. I like an escalator, man, because an escalator can never break. It can only become stairs. All right. There would never be an escalator temporarily out of order sign. Only an escalator temporarily stairs. Sorry for the convenience. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, all right? Thank you. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
So like I said, in the comment section, if you caught the same joke that was in an OPA'S corner, leave the joke in the comment section and I will reach out to you and you will win a free seed t-shirt. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's History's Mysteries, and Rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg. Now, I hope you got some great memes for me, Jake. Meme me up. Meme me up.
All right, guys, it's time for Meme of the Week. Check this one out. The key to monkeypox is knowing the K is silent. How true. The undeserving maintain power by promoting hysteria. Frank Herbert. I think this is the author of Dune, if I'm not mistaken. The undeserving maintain power by promoting hysteria. Very interesting. All right. Preachers used to preach against sin. Sinners ran to the altar to repent. Now, sinners run to another preacher who won't preach against their particular sin. I mean, we all turn our little pet peeves into golden idols, don't we? And finally, when someone says, "You won't believe what I saw on the news." Correct. Yeah, I mean, we're getting hit hard and fast with some crazy ongoing current events. So, all right, guys, that's all the memes for this week.
Jake, thank you for another great current news and memes as always. Opa, thank you for another great and funny Opa's Corner. I hope you guys enjoyed today's History's Mystery segment and the episode as a whole. Stay awake, not woke, subscribe, and stay tuned. All right, Jake, thank you for another great current news and memes as always. Opa, thank you for another funny Opa's Corner. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's History's Mystery segment and laughed a little at the Mitch Hedberg. I'm going to do that again. Jake, thank you for another great current news and memes as always. Opa, thank you for another funny and great Opa's Corner. I hope you go... Dang. Man, I'm going to have like a blooper reel. If you like what we do here on Skiba News Nation, please like and subscribe, and also share with others so that we can grow the biggest truth-seeking community on the internet. Huge shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do this show without you, so I just wanted to say thank you. And if you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation.